Okay. Thanks, everyone, for being here today. We're going to get started now with our announcement and media availability. I'd like to start by introducing Robin James, the CAO of the Lethbridge Housing Authority, to say a few words.
Good morning. Thank you for coming. On behalf of the Lethbridge Housing Authority, I would like to thank Minister Nixon, the Government of Alberta, and the Government of Canada for their investment of $10.2 million into the Lethbridge Permanent Supportive Housing. We know homelessness is a complex issue that requires a comprehensive and recovery-oriented response. We must strive to create a system of care which addresses the underlying causes of homelessness and supports individuals to reach their highest level of independence. A recovery-oriented system of care is based on principles of empowerment, hope, and person-centered care. It emphasizes the importance of addressing social determinants to homelessness, such as mental health, addiction, and poverty. This 30-unit, purpose-built property will be the first of its kind to be built in Lethbridge. The lodge-style, barrier-free design will allow individuals who have experienced chronic homelessness to age in place in a recovery-oriented facility. Thank you again, Minister Nixon. And at this time, we'd like to call him to the podium. Thank you.
They brought Robin a little help because they knew I would be here. And I don't need that help. But good to see everybody. Good morning. Real pleasure to be back in Lethbridge. Always happy to be in Alberta's third largest city. I enjoy this community very much, and you should be very proud of what has been accomplished down here in southern Alberta. First of all, thank you to Lethbridge Housing Authority for hosting us today, as well as I know His Worship Mayor Hagan is here. I think there are some other Lethbridge councillors. I will be careful not to start naming everybody in case I get in trouble and forget somebody, but we certainly appreciate everybody being here today to talk about what we're doing when it comes to housing across the province, but in particular right here in Lethbridge. Again, we're here today with the Lethbridge Housing Authority, which is one of our very critical partners in the province that helps us to accomplish the very important work that we do in seniors community and social services to make sure that all Albertans have a safe place to call home and an affordable place to call home. Since 1995, the Lethbridge Housing Authority has played a pivotal role in this community, increasing affordable housing units and working with thousands of Albertans to get them into affordable homes, to ensure they have rent supplements, and that they're ultimately able to meet their housing needs. Alberta's government is very proud to work with Lethbridge Housing Authority and to call them one of our key partners, along with dozens of other housing providers across this great province that work together each and every day with my department to provide tens of thousands of affordable homes for Albertans. Now more than ever, it is crucial to come up with solutions with our partners to ensure Albertans have homes that meet their needs. This includes increasing the stock of affordable housing through increased measures like capital grants for housing providers and rental assistance, and ultimately building buildings like the one I'm going to talk about today. Our government remains significantly committed to investing in affordable housing for many years to come. Together with our partners, we are already undertaking $9 billion worth of work between now and 2031 to create 13,000 more affordable housing units, which is 13,000 more homes. We've already been able to build through our Stronger Foundations plan 5,000 more units since 2019. On top of that, we continue to invest heavily in things like rent supplements to be able to help individuals continue to meet their rent needs. My department alone investing $250 million in rent supplements to continue to help Albertans meet the challenges that we see when it comes to inflation and affordability. This is on top of a $5.1 billion affordability measures and support investment that Alberta has undertaken during both the inflation and financial crises that we've seen over the last several years. That is the highest investment in affordability anywhere in the country. Everything from reducing taxes, including the gas tax, to helping Albertans with their utility bills, and of course to being able to make sure that we can help deal with things like rent. At the end of the day, though, our province knows that we can't solve the housing crisis in our country and our province without making sure that the supply of housing increases across the province. And while affordable housing is a key part of that, and a big part of the announcement that we're having here today, we know that we have to continue to create market conditions to help be able to create tens of thousands of homes in this province over the next 4 or 5 years. In fact, we need about 150,000 homes by some estimates. And that's why we continue to work with the industry and with municipalities, including Lethbridge, to be able to reduce red tape, to help with zoning issues, and to be able to make sure that we can ultimately help industry be able to build tens of thousands of homes going forward. And we're very excited to report over the last year, as we have concentrated on that we now have the highest construction in the history of our province when it comes to residential construction, and also, and most importantly, the highest purpose-built rentals in the history of our province, which will continue to be able to bring stability back to our market and be able to make things more affordable for Albertans. And I can't stress that enough. The most critical thing for us to do long-term is to continue to increase supply. And that's why we are working closely with our partners to ensure that we continue to build thousands of new affordable homes across the province. And today, I'm pleased to be here to announce a $10.2 million investment for a new permanent supportive housing facility here in Lethbridge. This new recovery-focused facility will provide 30 units for people experiencing homelessness right here in the city. This is not just about providing an affordable unit for people, but it is also about providing social support so residents can thrive and succeed. These services will ensure people get the support they need to have a safe, stable place to call home and ultimately continue on to have successful lives. Having an affordable place to live while people get back on their feet is crucial and something I think we all agree on. Projects such as this are part of our commitment to ensure Albertans have access long-term to sustainable, safe, and affordable housing all across Alberta. And while we continue to build our affordable housing capacity, we must ensure that those solutions reflect the needs of Alberta's individual communities, as this project does. Our government will continue to address the challenges that come up with innovative solutions to get more homes built and more people into those homes. I want to thank our housing providers, again, particularly Lethbridge Housing Authority, for their important work all across this province. And I want them to know, because of that hard work, Alberta continues to lead the way in this country when it comes to the expansion of both attainable and affordable housing, with real solutions that are having record-breaking results that will benefit Albertans now and for decades to come. And with that said, I thank you again for being here, and I want to bring up to say a few comments a friend of mine, your great mayor, His Worship Blaine Higgins, who has been, and the City of Lethbridge, who has been a great partner with us on this. Blaine, come up and have a few words, please.
Well, welcome everyone here. We've got quite the crew here, and it's an exciting day. It truly is an exciting day. Over the past few weeks, you've heard many announcements regarding homelessness, shelters, encampments, and steps being taken to support the most vulnerable in our community. Lethbridge has rates higher than the provincial average of aging populations, number of people with physical, cognitive, and or psychological disabilities, mental health issues, and increasing number of individuals experiencing homelessness. This indicates a critical need for more supportive housing units which meet community needs pertaining to level of service and accessibility. Studies have demonstrated that a significant proportion of community members experiencing homelessness in Lethbridge need supportive housing. This would provide a pathway out of homelessness and allow individuals to overcome or better manage issues related to developmental disabilities, substance abuse problems, and mental health issues. Without sufficient supportive housing, individuals with complex needs living within our homeless shelter system and or on the streets, and they typically are more frequent users of emergency services such as the police, EMS, and hospitals. Providing supportive housing for high acuity individuals produces a return on investment by reducing this use of emergency services. The goal of supportive housing is to house and stabilize participants so they can move towards recovery. I want to take this time to thank Minister Nixon and his staff, along with Robin James, CEO of Lethbridge Housing, and the board. I know we've got some board members here, a couple of you, right? Anybody else that I'm missing? Like the minister here, I don't want to leave anybody out. And then also to my colleague, Councillor Schmidt-Rempel, that is here with me today for this exciting announcement. And I want to thank you all for being here, and we look forward to helping those most in most need within our community. So thank you very much.
We'll now move on to questions from the media. We'll start with reporters here in the room. I believe that there's a mic somewhere in the back for you. And then we'll move to the phone lines. If you could state your name and your outlet, and we'll do one question and one follow-up. Do we have any reporters here in the room?
Perfect. Carson with CTV Lethbridge. When we speak about supportive housing and those supports, what will those people who will be placed in these in this new facility, see in terms of those supports?
Well, I'll get Robin to supplement specifically for a little more individual information about this project and what's taking place in Lethbridge. But from a general perspective, the government continues to be focused on making sure that we don't only provide a home, which is important, but that we make sure that we are very focused on recovery, particularly when you're dealing with individuals that are facing addictions. Recovery will continue to be the focus of the Alberta government. We believe that we can work with addicts to be able to make sure to provide them long-term, sustainable, happy lives in our province with investment in things like recovery. And Alberta has just invested in an unprecedented amount of recovery beds, thousands of new beds inside our province, and will continue to do that. And one of the roles that we have in my department responsible for housing is to connect to that work that is being led by the Ministry of Mental Health and Addiction. And with facilities like that, this is what we're talking about today. That is what we're doing. But further that, what we've been learning, particularly both in Edmonton and in the city of Lethbridge with our shelter here with the Blood Tribe, is that we also have to bring in other supports around that. And so everything comes down to simple stuff often, like making sure that we have quick access to a new ID for those that are experiencing homelessness so that they can access other services that are within the province. So, for example, we're going into the system to be able to make sure that individuals can get ID then very quickly inside some of our centers. But it's about bringing everything that is around those individuals to make sure that they got the support they need to ultimately go on and have success. And I don't know, Robin, if you want to add specifically to Lethbridge.
So specifically to the Lethbridge project, we are working alongside Alberta Health Services, Addictions Mental Health, and persons with developmental disabilities to provide them with some spaces in the property itself. It's displayed over here, so they will actually have some office spaces. So people who require that additional support day to day will be able to access it right in the building and won't actually have to come, into other spaces in order to do that, whether that's, into the downtown core for home care or something like that. Those services will be available to them in their home.
Do you have a follow-up?
Yes, a follow-up for possibly Mayor Blaine Higgin. I know we're gathered here today for a housing announcement. However, though, this morning we did learn that the City of Lethbridge did not make the list for the Federal Housing Accelerator Fund program, which could have seen around $7 million to boost affordable housing. I guess, why did the city not make the list? And I guess in terms of an impact for, more potential housing in the city, do you see this potentially having?
Thank you very much for the question. And, your news is news to me as well as of this morning. So, what we continue to advocate on behalf of the community to the different levels of government. And you know what? It's things like this that will propel us forward. Announcements like this in the support of housing. And we've heard many of the different forms of housing that we have within the community, and especially that in recovery is something that I'm extremely excited about. And I don't know if there's anything else, Minister, that you want to add when it comes to that?
We're very disappointed to continue to see the federal government, disproportionately fund other provinces in the country when it comes to things like housing. And particularly with the accelerated program that you're referring to, we have made clear to the federal government that we expect per capita funding. This is the fastest growing province in the country. We continue to see unprecedented demand when it comes to things like housing, and the federal government needs to make sure that we're receiving our fair share of the funding in Alberta, and that they are not disproportionately investing in provinces, frankly, that they're targeting for votes in their upcoming election. We asked Minister Fraser, the federal Minister of Housing, to come to Edmonton and have a meeting with us and the Mayor of Edmonton, which took place, I think, 2 days ago. It was this week. We had a very productive meeting to have a long conversation about our concerns about not receiving enough funding, particularly for small cities like Lethbridge. Lethbridge isn't that small no more, but outside of Calgary and Edmonton, to be able to make sure that we are receiving our fair funding. The federal minister is committed to having a conversation with our department about what that may look like And we are going to continue to hold them accountable to be able to make sure that they're focusing on all provinces and all the areas across the province. But I also want to stress the only way that they can accomplish that is to work with the province. They to be able to understand the projects that we're building and to be able to make sure that they're partners in the areas across the province that they need to. And so we'll stand ready to be able to help the federal government do that when and if they finally come to the table in a big way on that. But in the meantime, we will continue to invest in housing our cities and make sure that our province is ready for the future.
Any other reporters in the room with a question?
Yeah, Brandon Cassidy with Global News. Regarding the housing and the smaller communities in the province, is there any future plans such as housing like this within the smaller communities, especially in the south of Alberta, that are beginning to need them badly? We
need housing all across this province, from the Northwest Territory border to the American border and from BC to Saskatchewan. And our government is committed to working with all of our communities. As I said in my remarks, there'll be unique needs in all of those communities, and that's why we work with partners like the Lethbridge Housing Authority to make sure that we're meeting that need of that community because they're the experts. But we will continue to invest in significant ways. I mean, a $9 billion investment between now and 2031 is a big number, where we're going to create already 13,000 more units on top of the work we're doing to make sure that the market will create the tens of thousands. And I've said many times that as long as I sit in this ministry, rural Alberta and outside of Edmonton and Calgary will not be forgotten. I'm proud to be from Sundre, Alberta. I understand that we have unique needs here. We will keep care of Calgary and Edmonton, but the rest of this province will not be forgotten while I'm here.
Do you have a follow-up? Any other reporters in the room with a question? Okay, we'll move to the phone lines.
Catherine Grigowski, Alberta Today. Good morning. I'm wondering, so for these supportive housing units for the recovery component for people with addiction and mental illness, is this supportive units meant to be a transition, like once they're recovered and back on their feet, they'd move to another subsidized unit or market unit, or is the intention that it would be basically permanent supportive housing for life?
So I will again let Robin be specific for the specific province, or for the project. But I do want to reiterate how this will work long term and what the role of our department is versus Minister Williams' department, which I think is what you're alluding to. At the end of the day, we in the Social Services Department are not focused on running detox and recovery programs. We have made a ministry specifically to focus on mental health and addictions. And it's my job to make sure that my department is supporting that work. And so we are very focused on both pre and post housing and how we would connect into the work that Minister Williams does to make sure that we can get individuals safely into a place where they're safe, warm, and then able to receive those services and then go through their recovery process, of which would be Minister Williams' work. And that we stand ready to have a housing system that people then can enter afterwards, so they can continue to go through long-term recovery and move on with their lives. And so that's the role that we're really focused on rejigging the social services system around housing to really support that work going forward. And Robin, I don't know if you want to supplement it here in Lethbridge.
So specifically to the Lethbridge project, what we're hoping to accomplish with this is we're seeing individuals coming out of the recovery communities like Fresh Start and some of the other provincial recovery communities that are still homeless. So when you come out and you've invested in yourself and your time and your ability to be in a recovered or a more sober state, it's up to us to be able to provide you with a safe place to call home and a warm space where you can thrive. So we will allow transitioning in this property, but we will also allow those individuals that are struggling with things like fetal alcohol syndrome that will never be successful outside in the private landlord market to be able to live in this property. So I hope that answers your question.
Catherine, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, and this one is specifically to Minister Nixon. Yesterday, the NDP held a news conference. They said, in your Stronger Foundation strategy, that the plan was to add 1,200 households to the rental assistance program, but the budget only adds 550 households. Why the gap between the strategy and the budget?
Well, the NDP never ceased to amaze me in their inability to be able to read a budget. To be clear, the Stronger Foundations plan will provide support to over 82,000 households in this province when it's completed. It has already built about 5,000 new affordable housing units since 2019, is on track to build 13,000 more between now and 2031. And that is also in addition to the work that is taking place across our overall housing strategy on market housing to continue to be able to make sure that industry can increase their capacity to be able to build tens of thousands of homes in our cities for Albertans and new Albertans to live in, which is taking place at a record pace inside the province. I look forward to talking about what is in Budget 24 and 25 when it comes to housing. In fact, I know you'll be hearing a lot from me next week when it comes to that. This government is continuing to invest in significant ways and will not stop, and has already increased our affordable housing stock by 40%. And when the NDP were in government, they decreased the affordable housing stock by around 50%. So we'll have our record stand up to them any day, and I'm looking forward to seeing them in estimates, and I can show them how to read the budget.
And that's all the questions we have today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So thank you everyone for coming. Just a reminder to the media, we will head over to the 416 Stafford Drive North after this announcement is complete and break the ground there with the minister. So if you'd like to follow us over to that property, there is no electricity at that point. You'll be running on battery power, but we'd love to see you there. Thank you.